Once all your leaves are outlined, then we can start adding color. To add color, first we're going to be using some watercolor colored pencils. These look just like a regular colored pencil, but they say watercolor on them. So sometimes they can get mixed up with the regular colored pencils, but just make sure that you look for the word watercolor on the pencil. And when you use these, you want to color with them first, just like you would with a regular colored pencil. So I started coloring in this leaf so far with some orange and yellow. The idea here is blending your colors. So I am trying to do a little bit of shading here and show some different values. Remember, value is the amount of light or dark in a color. So I have a darker shade of orange here, and I'm gradually getting a little bit lighter with my coloring by pressing down lightly. So when you press down lightly, you get a light value with a colored pencil. When you press down hard, you get a dark value. And it's good to try to get a gradual fade of values, so it doesn't start out really dark and then immediately get very light. That way it looks like it is fading and not just stopping. And then you can think about colors that you'd like to blend together. So I chose to blend orange and yellow here to show that this leaf is changing colors. So I'm overlapping the yellow here on top of the orange, and I'm going to make the other end of this part of my leaf yellow. So with watercolor colored pencils, you just want to use them like you would a regular colored pencil until you add water is the main difference. When you add water to them, then they turn into watercolor. But you can control the amount of color that you put down with a watercolor pencil more than you would with just regular watercolors, because you can focus more on blending the colors when you're coloring, and then when you can add water later, you have a little bit more control. So here it kind of looks like the orange just stopped and now it's yellow. The difference with this section is that the orange gradually fades into yellow. So I'm just blending a little bit of orange by pressing down very lightly here into the yellow area. For coloring your leaves, you'll need some warm colors like yellow, orange, and red. Then you may also want some brown. I'm going to use brown for the veins in the leaves. And then you may also want some green. So in the fall, we know that leaves change colors, but originally they probably were a shade of green. So you may want to add a little bit of green on some of your leaves to show that they are changing colors. So we're going to color all of our leaves first and then add water to them to turn the colored pencil into watercolor. Here's an example of how the watercolor pencils work. So I'm coloring with yellow and orange, just like I would with a regular colored pencil. Let's add a little bit of red in there too. So let's say I'm ready to add water. You'll just need a water cup and a paintbrush, no actual watercolors. And then you're just going to paint right on top of the colored pencil, and it's going to turn into watercolor. Now you don't want to get a ton of water on here because it will blend the entire thing together and probably make something like an orange shade here. So we just want to lightly paint on the color. So remember, I'm going to color in all of my leaves first, and then I'm going to add water. It would be hard to work around a wet area of your paper. So you don't want to color and then paint one leaf and then color another and paint that one. Do all the coloring first, and then you can paint over the colored pencil. When you're coloring, make sure that you fill in the entire space and you're coloring as neat as you can. If you color in a scribble way, you just rush to try to fill in the area, it's not going to give off the same effect when you add water. So if I add water to this, I still have some empty spaces between the lines of color because the colored pencil didn't cover the entire area and it looks really rough. So we want to do our best work and take our time to make it look very neat. For the veins on this leaf, I decided to use brown, but you could use another color that makes sense for your leaf. I'm gonna go ahead and color in the rest of my leaves using some different values and trying to blend the colors.